Right, so it looks like Shedeur Sanders set fire to local Browns media that have just been, just flat out haters, to be honest. There's really no other way to put it. There's been a lot of jealousy thrown his way. The local media has just been brutal. And he called out the anybody but Shedeur Mafia. He absolutely set fire to him. The Mary Kay Cabots of the world, the Jason Lloyds, the Anthony Limas. These people that are pure haters that'll find anything to, to not want to give him an opportunity.
Shedeur Sanders has been criticized since the moment he entered the NFL. That's nothing new, but this time the argument went somewhere different because the criticism wasn't about an interception or a bad read. It was about what Shedeur supposedly wasn't doing when nobody was watching. Questions started circulating about his film study, preparation, and whether he really understood what he was seeing on the field. Then Shedeur posted a message that sounded like he had heard enough. He said people should value opinions from those who actually care about them instead of listening to all the outside noise. He didn't name anybody. He really didn't have to. The timing told you exactly why people connected the dots. And then Shedeur's family took things much further. Shilo Sanders publicly went after longtime Browns reporter Mary Kay Cabot after she argued Cleveland should move forward with Deshaun Watson as QB1. Shilo's initial response drew criticism because of the way he addressed Cabot, but when he spoke again, his argument became much more specific. If you're going to report on Shedeur, he said, then report facts. His accusation was that opinion had started bleeding into coverage and creating a negative narrative around his brother. Deion later defended Shilo's instinct to protect Shedeur, even though the original comment itself created a completely separate controversy.
Shilo Sanders, a verified account, sent on Instagram a message that said, "Go make a sandwich, Mary." And Mary Kay took the high road, which, she's a professional. She is a Bill Nunn Award winner.
Now here's where this becomes more interesting than another Sanders family versus media fight, because you can dislike the way Shilo handled it and still ask whether the underlying argument deserves a closer look. Back in March, The Athletic's Jason Lloyd discussed criticism he'd heard about Shedeur's film habits and understanding of what he was seeing. That is significant criticism for any quarterback. Quarterback might be the most preparation-heavy position in American sports. If you aren't studying correctly, eventually Sundays expose you. But there was another side of the story developing at almost exactly the same time. People actually coaching Shedeur were describing something very different. Browns quarterbacks coach Mike Bajakian later said he was blown away by Shedeur's vision of the field. He specifically talked about moments when Sanders would explain what he saw during practice, and the coaches would go back to the film and realize exactly what he was talking about. Bajakian also praised the combination of Shedeur's vision and work ethic. That's where this story stops being simple. On one side, you had questions about whether he knew how to properly study film. On the other, you had the man coaching the quarterback position praising his vision and work. Those two pictures don't fit together very comfortably.
Unbelievable. So I want you to watch it, right? He sort of pumps, the hand comes off of it. We'll go slow-mo to show it. See that right there? Boom. And then resets. See that right there? Boom, resets. Throws a touchdown. Is that the wind? I just like it. Quick footwork, getting set, getting back up.
And this wasn't the first Browns coach to say something positive about how Shedeur worked. During his rookie season, Browns quarterbacks coach Bill Musgrave praised the amount of work Sanders was putting into improving his footwork and rhythm. Musgrave specifically connected Shedeur's improvement to his work ethic and determination. So now you have to ask the obvious question. If coaches who are actually sitting in those quarterback meetings keep talking about the work he's putting in, how did the opposite reputation become such a big part of the conversation? That's where Shedeur Sanders becomes almost impossible to cover like a normal second-year quarterback. Every opinion about him becomes content. Every practice rep becomes a debate. Every comment becomes a headline. Even when Cleveland changed quarterbacks during his rookie season, and the move didn't involve Shedeur, reporters still went to his locker and asked him about it. Sanders responded by silently mouthing his answers. That became a national story too. Think about how strange that is. The Browns made a quarterback change involving other players, and somehow Shedeur still became one of the biggest stories coming out of the building.
What are your thoughts on just remaining at that third quarterback? Vocally, anything to say about it?
And Shedeur absolutely deserves criticism when he plays badly. His rookie numbers weren't good enough to make him untouchable. He completed 56.6% of his passes for 1,400 yards with 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions across 8 appearances. If you're evaluating only the football, there are plenty of things to question. Pocket movement needed work. Decision-making needed work. He took too many negative plays. None of that requires some media conspiracy to explain. Shedeur was a young quarterback who looked like a young quarterback. But that's exactly why separating those criticisms matters. Saying Shedeur struggled on film is different from saying he doesn't work. Saying Watson might give Cleveland a better chance to win is different from presenting that opinion as something already decided inside the building. That's essentially what the Sanders family has been fighting against. They aren't asking people to pretend Shedeur played like Patrick Mahomes. Their argument is that criticism should be attached to something you can actually prove. And then something happened that made this whole media argument even harder to ignore. Shedeur finally got his first NFL start against Las Vegas. Suddenly all the speculation had to compete with actual football. He completed 11 of 20 passes for 209 yards. He threw a touchdown and an interception. Cleveland won 24-10. It wasn't some flawless superstar performance, but Sanders became the first Browns quarterback since 1995 to win his first career start. Afterward, he said he felt relaxed because preparation gave him confidence. That's a pretty interesting statement coming from somebody whose preparation had become part of the public debate.
I'm just thankful that I'm living in the present. Now I have the opportunity to go out there and do the best I can. Will there be mistakes? Of course. But it wouldn't be as many mistakes, you know. We're trying to minimize those most possible.
Now fast forward to 2026, and the noise hasn't disappeared. It has actually gotten louder because Shedeur is no longer fighting for some distant opportunity. He's fighting Deshaun Watson for the starting job. Todd Monken hasn't named QB1 yet. Watson is trying to return after missing the entire 2025 season with an Achilles injury. Shedeur is entering year 2 after finally getting real NFL experience. That means every report from camp now carries weight. One good Watson practice becomes evidence for Watson. One strong Shedeur session becomes evidence for Shedeur. And one sentence from a reporter can turn into an argument that lasts for 3 days. We literally saw another example this week. A viral clip showed Jerry Jeudy flashing 4 fingers after being asked about Cleveland's quarterback situation. Since Watson wears number 4, people immediately interpreted it as Jeudy choosing Watson over Shedeur. Then Jeudy pushed back and said the clip had been edited to create a narrative that wasn't accurate. He made it clear that choosing the quarterback isn't his decision and said he supports his teammates. Once again, Cleveland had a quarterback controversy built around what somebody supposedly meant rather than what that person actually said.
Mag Dog TV, Browns wide receiver Jerry Jeudy goes live to clear his name. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. All right, so before we get started, it says, I don't speak on decisions that aren't mine to make. I support my teammates/brothers. I do my job and control what I can control. Let's stop creating narratives that aren't there for likes and clicks. I bet this won't go viral because it's too positive/real for y'all.
That's probably the best example of why Shedeur and his family are so sensitive to this stuff. Once a narrative starts moving, the correction almost never travels as fast. Jerry Jeudy chooses Deshaun Watson is a much more exciting headline than Jerry Jeudy says he doesn't decide who starts. The first version creates sides. The second version is boring. And Shedeur has lived inside that machine since before Cleveland drafted him. His name creates engagement, whether the story is positive or negative. You can even see that divide among Browns fans themselves. Some are tired of hearing about Shedeur every day. Others believe the media is partly creating the very circus it complains about. During his rookie year, one heavily discussed Browns fan thread made exactly that argument. Fans pointed out that reporters kept approaching Sanders and writing about him while simultaneously complaining about the attention surrounding him. That doesn't prove anybody is deliberately lying for clicks, but it does explain why the relationship between Shedeur's camp and some Cleveland coverage has become so tense. There's another reason this isn't going away anytime soon. Shedeur is commercially enormous. NFLPA filings showed him receiving a record $17.7 million in group licensing and player marketing income. That's more than Patrick Mahomes received in the same reporting period and above Tom Brady's previous single-season record. His name generates attention at a level that doesn't match his draft position or his current resume. So when people say the media has an incentive to talk about Shedeur, that part isn't difficult to understand. Shedeur Sanders stories get attention because Shedeur Sanders gets attention. But this is where both sides need to be careful. Shedeur's popularity doesn't automatically mean every negative report is dishonest. Reporters are supposed to criticize players. They're supposed to ask uncomfortable questions. And the Sanders family attacking every opinion they dislike wouldn't make Shedeur's life easier either. The real issue is whether the line between reporting and opinion stays clear. If somebody reports that Shedeur isn't studying enough, that's something viewers naturally assume came from people inside the building. If it's simply an interpretation of his performance, then it should be presented that way. Because eventually this entire fight gets settled somewhere neither Shedeur nor the media can control: the field. If Watson clearly outplays him in camp, Shedeur supporters are going to have to accept that. If Shedeur clearly outplays Watson and still doesn't get the job, the questions around Cleveland will become much louder. That's what makes this training camp so important. For months, everybody has been arguing about narratives, sources, preparation, and agendas. Soon, Cleveland won't be able to hide behind any of it. There will be practices, there will be preseason games, and there will eventually be a starter. That's also the bigger legacy question for Shedeur. His entire football life has come with noise attached to it. Deion's son, NIL superstar, draft day collapse, fifth-round steal, media circus, Pro Bowl replacement, QB competition. At some point, he has to become something simpler, a starting NFL quarterback who wins football games. If he does that, a lot of these stories are going to look ridiculous in hindsight. If he doesn't, critics will say the attention was always bigger than the player. And that's why this Browns media fight matters more than another angry social media post. Shedeur believes the opinions that matter should come from people who actually know him and work with him. His family believes some of the coverage around him has crossed from reporting into agenda-driven opinion. Browns coaches have publicly praised parts of his preparation and development. Meanwhile, the media still has legitimate questions about whether his game is good enough to beat Watson and lead Cleveland. Those things can all be true at the same time. So forget the noise for a second and answer the question that actually matters. If Shedeur Sanders wins this quarterback competition on the field, will the Browns and Cleveland media finally give him a clean chance to become QB1? Or has this relationship already become so messy that every mistake and every comment will turn into another controversy? Because if Shedeur starts winning games, the people who questioned everything from his work ethic to his preparation are going to have some uncomfortable old clips following them around. And if he doesn't, they'll say they were warning everybody from the beginning. Either way, somebody is going to have receipts.